Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Powers Johns Lane. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of Powers Johns Lane. It's March, so that means it's Irish Whiskey Month on my channel. So for this month I'll be reviewing a trio of Irish whiskies. The first is the Powers Johns Lane. It's a 12-year-old single pot still Irish whiskey from Middleton, and the whiskey itself is named after the original Powers distillery. It's made from malted and unmalted barley. It's aged in ex-American oak and Oloroso casks, and it's 46% ABV. It comes in a 70cl bottle and it retails for £60. Shall we find out what it tastes like? On to the whiskey. So before I start nosing and tasting, let's have a quick look at the colour. I'd say that's like a deep gold. It really is a nice shade. Obviously that Oloroso does give it a little bit of extra colour. Let's start with the nose. Right, so the first thing I get with this is a little bit of acetone. It's not off-putting, but it is noticeable. There's some sherry in there. Not overly sweet. It's a little bit spicy. I'm getting a little bit of black pepper. There's a little bit of shortbread biscuit. I'm getting a hint of copper. There's some leather. And there's also some dark chocolate. Let's move on to the palate. Yeah, so for me it starts with a hit of sherry. There's definitely a nice sherry influence with this. It's not too sweet and it's not too strong, not too dry or tannic, but yeah, definitely the sherry notes are coming through. It's followed by like creamy chocolate. It's really nice, and there's also a punch of spiciness which is really peppery for me, but very nice. Let's have another sip. Yeah, it's a little estery. Probably comes from the unmalted barley, and it's probably the reason I picked up that acetone note on the nose. The sherry starts to dominate, which isn't a bad thing. Obviously, this has had some time in Oloroso sherry, so you'd expect that to be quite prominent. But along with that sherry, there's sweetness. I'm getting like vanilla and caramel. It sort of reminds me of Werther's Originals. Let's have one final sip. Yeah, so on top of the flavours I've already found, I'm getting some charred oak, which is really quite nice. Adds a little bit of sort of barrel spice. There's also baking spices with this, like nutmeg and cinnamon. And that barrel spice, I think, is definitely better than the pepper punch I got to start with, but it's definitely dominant on the palate. I'd say this has a long finish. There's also some oak, vanilla, caramel, and also a hint of coconut, which is really quite nice. In terms of value, well, as I said, this is about £60 in the UK. It has been cheaper in the past, but obviously prices are going up. But it's a 12-year-old single pot still Irish whiskey. It's 46% ABV, which is pretty good. And I think it's probably about the going rate for an Irish whiskey of this type. It's obviously fairly mainstream coming from Middleton. But I think it's like the sort of untamed younger brother of the Redbreast 12-year-old. Obviously this doesn't have the sherry maturation that does. So it's a little bit edgy, it's a little bit spicy, and I think it has a little bit more character. It's one of those whiskies that I probably wouldn't reach for very often, but it definitely has a nice spicy tang with that sort of sherry flavour in the foreground. It's a whiskey that is definitely showing its Irish character, that sort of green unmalted barley coming through in the flavour, which is nice. But I think, yeah, this is probably a whiskey I won't reach for very often, but it's a whiskey that I do enjoy, and I think you just have to be in the mood for something with a little bit of a kick and a little bit of spice. But it's definitely an impressive whiskey. If you've tried this, then let me know your thoughts in the comments as always. And if there's another Irish whiskey, especially something with an age statement, that you think I should try, then also let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Hopefully you found this interesting, and hopefully you'll come back for more Irish whiskey. Stauncher. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.